On to the upcoming fights for this weekend. This is actually going to be an excellent card out of Brazil for UFN Ultimate Fight Night 106. On the main card of the six fights, five of them are going to be between two guys who are within the top 15, and three of those will be two top 10 guys going at it. So, compared to this card where you only had two fights where it was a battle of top 15 guys, and that was actually there were three fights. So you had Bektic versus Elkins, you had Hunt versus Overeem, and you also had the main event between Woodley and Wonderboy. Again, three fights between top 10 competitors, and you've also got two extras where you got the top 15 involved. So just going bottom to top on this card, the first fight of the night will be Gareth McClellan versus Paulo Barachinha, who is going to be making his debut. I believe he's a local. McClellan, of course, is the rugby player from South Africa. Kind of has a brawly style to him. Pretty fun to watch, usually. Not the most technical guy, but usually anytime he's fighting, it's going to be a good fight to watch. Next fight would be Ronnie Yaya and Joe Soto. Very interesting fight. Obviously, Soto had been a Bellator champion in Bellator's early days. Yaya has looked really good lately. Soto, kind of known for his ground game, really good leg locks, trains jiu-jitsu, I believe, with David Terrell out in NorCal. Ronnie Yaya, of course, highly decorated Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist. This could be a fight where they stay standing, and it's kind of like your two jiu-jitsu guys, and it ends up being a pretty good striking match, or it could just become a battle of who gets top position, who's able to control for the 15 minutes. Next fight would be Hani Jason versus Jeremy Kennedy. Kennedy is an undefeated prospect out of Canada. Appears to have a pretty good future ahead of him. Jason obviously had a great run on Tough Brazil. Has been a pretty good guy. Has had some good wins. Has had some tough losses, including the Jeremy Stevens knockout. Obviously very dangerous. Excellent jiu-jitsu. Got a black belt. Can fight off his back and fight from the top. Really good boxing. His knockout power. This is going to be an excellent fight, I believe. I don't expect this fight to be boring in any way, whether it goes to decision or whether it has a finish. And then on the FS1 prelims, it starts off with Michael Prazeres versus Josh Berkman. Prazeres is 21-2. He's looked excellent. Obviously really strong. His knockout power, can finish by submission as well. Berkman, of course, well-rounded, wily vet, very tough to beat. Really smart. Next fight on the card is Sergio Moraes versus Davi Ramos. He was initially supposed to fight Max Griffin. Griffin got injured. Davi Ramos is stepping in. Very interesting fight because both of these guys are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champs at black belt. So this could be a fight where they kind of... Either this becomes a grappling match and it becomes a really high-level grappling match where they're going back and forth, or becomes a match where the grappling kind of cancels out and you have two jiu-jitsu guys who get in a striking match, and it could be an ugly striking match. If that's the case, I'd probably give Sergio the advantage just because he's been doing MMA longer. He's got decent striking. His punches are pretty good. Obviously not the sharpest, but I'd imagine Davi Ramos would have some trouble with that. But this will be a fun fight, and obviously the fans from Brazil are going to love it to see just two superstar jiu-jitsu guys going at it. Next fight on the card is Godofredo Pepe versus Kyle Bochniak. Pepe also, like Hani Jason from The Ultimate Fighter Brazil, excellent off his back, very dangerous, likes to go for a lot of crazy stuff, has a flying knee knockout. Very fun fighter to watch. Bochniak, also pretty fun to watch, so that should be a good fight. And then the final fight on the FS1 prelims is Kevin Lee versus Masaranduba Francisco Trinaldo, who has had a very good winning streak going that you probably haven't noticed. He's now ranked number 11 overall. Again, pretty silently at lightweight. Really big guy for the division, but he's able to make the weight and has obviously been able to use his strength towards his advantage. Kevin Lee seems to be a pretty good prospect in his own right, so I'd expect this to be a pretty fun fight to see. Obviously for Lee, if he can get the win, that'll be a big win, and obviously a big step towards working into the top 15 and having some bigger fights on his end. Heading into the main card, you have Alex Oliveira versus Tim Means. This fight, obviously, it happened on the UFC 207 card. This was the one where Tim Means had landed the illegal knees, and there were the questions about how many points of contact were down. Oliveira had just one knee down when he was taking the knees, but obviously if a knee's down, then the knee is illegal. This is the one where Joe Rogan had thought that the knee was legal. That fight went to a no contest, so obviously these guys are going to run it back. We'll find out what happens this time around. Seems like a pretty good fight up until that point last time, so it'll be fun to see what happens this time. And then starting the run of 5 fights between top 15 fighters, there's number 9, Bethe Correia versus number 13, Marion Renault. Correia obviously was looking really good, was undefeated up until her fight with Ronda Rousey, had a really tough loss there. hasn't looked great since then, but again, she's still in it. Renault again, she had her tough fight with she had a tough fight with Holly Holm early in Holm's career. Both of these girls are really tough. This could be a pretty good fight. Wouldn't be surprised if this one goes all 3 rounds. Then you have UCA Formiga, ranked number 3 at flyweight, versus Ray Borg, ranked number 8. Ray Borg obviously coming off of a huge win against Louis Smolka. Now, granted, Borg was way overweight for that fight, but looked excellent. Smolka is an excellent grappler. I believe he's got a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and Borg is just so energetic, so fast, so good in his scrambles that he was constantly dominating on the ground. Formiga, known for his grappling as well, a black belt. It'll be interesting to see if this fight does go to the ground, how that sort of matchup happens, or how it kind of plays out between technique and just kind of athleticism. Borg is very technical in his own right, too. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing on the ground, but he's obviously not as technical. You wouldn't imagine he's as technical as Smolka, and definitely not as much as Formiga, but this could be a really fun fight. Hopefully, if Borg has any weight-cutting issues, that at least they're able to do something about it, and we don't have a situation like we had with Khabib and Ferguson. The next fight, and probably the fight that interests me most on this card, is between number 5 Edson Barbosa and number 9 Beneil Dariush. Barbosa has looked excellent. Obviously, he had that win over Anthony Pettis where he was able to outstrike him. The thing with Barbosa that can be troublesome for him is that he has trouble with guys who can pressure him and kind of take away from his space to throw his kicks, and also he's a little bit susceptible to damage on the ground. He's also had some issues taking shots. Beneil Dariush is the kind of guy where he's not going to be as technical on the feet, but he's really good at pressuring his opponents. He's going to pressure Edson Barbosa. It'll be interesting to see how the fight works on the feet because of that, because Beneil Dariush is going to pressure him. If he gets him to the ground, you'd imagine he has the advantage there as well. In the co-main event, you have Shogun Rua versus John Vellante. Shogun, I mean, if he can still fight, he can still fight, but it feels like he's kind of running towards the end of his career. John Vellante has obviously been kind of floating around that top 15 spot for a while, hasn't really been able to break in. If he gets a win over Shogun, that's going to be a big name under his belt. I don't know that it's necessarily going to validate him as a top 10 guy, but it's definitely going to help get him a bigger fight and give him a chance to finally break through. And then in the main event, Kelvin Gastelum, coming off of a huge and impressive win over Tim Kennedy, is going to get Vitor Belfort next. Vitor has been looking worse over time. Kelvin's been looking better. If you look at Vitor's past fights, you probably feel like he has a great chance in this fight. If you look at Kelvin's most recent fights, you feel like he's got a great chance. The odds makers have this fight heavily favored towards Kelvin at about a 3-1 favorite. I don't know that he's that big of a favorite. I feel like early on, Vitor is going to be able to land some shots on him, but man, Kelvin's one of those guys where he's not the most technical guy. When you hear about what he does in the gym, he's not even the most impressive guy in the gym, but he's so tough. He never stops coming at you. He's got very good boxing, very good wrestling. He's really good with his rear naked choke. Vitor is the kind of guy where if he doesn't put Kelvin away early, you'd have to imagine Kelvin's going to keep coming at him. He's going to come at him hard, and he's going to be able to finish him late. That would be what I would assume is going to happen in this fight. I feel like Vitor's going to have his moments early, but Kelvin's going to weather the storm. Kelvin's going to come after Vitor, and at that point, Vitor is going to kind of fade off. Kelvin will get the victory, get a big upset, beat Vitor in Brazil, and that could really earn him a pretty big fight at middleweight. Obviously, that division's now it's in a tough spot. Jacare's going to be fighting Whitaker. Yoel Romero doesn't have a fight lined up yet, and Gegard Mousasi is going to be fighting against Chris Weidman. Possibly if Kelvin wins this fight, maybe you give him Yoel in the meantime while GSP fights for the title. And if he beats Yoel, I mean, he could find himself in a title fight very soon, and quite honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if he did. He's such a tough fighter. He finds ways to beat guys who you expect him to beat, and if Kelvin does it, I mean, that'd be great for him. That'd be huge.